If you live in the real world, you want to hear what Dr. Bruce Rubenstein has to say.
If you live in the spiritual world, you will want to hear what Rabbi Shea has to say.
We may agree,
And we may disagree.
but you want to hear both views.
So let's get right to it. Welcome to another episode of the Rabbi and the Therapist. Today, we're going to be talking about the prevention of becoming addicted and dependent on various forms of cannabis. Rabbi, to walk around today and to see all these shops selling cannabis, you'd think that this was a harmless agent in our society. So I want to just give you a little background on what we're actually seeing and what's really going on. And then I want to hear the rabbinic, or at least Jewish perspective on this. Because I've often wondered, I imagine cannabis must have been around in biblical times too, and yet we don't sort of read
In one
it.
form or another.
In one form or another.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Listen, we have a lot of data on the effects of long-term cannabis use, actually from the Netherlands. Most people think prior to it becoming legalized in the States that it was always legal in the Netherlands. That's actually technically not true. It was always illegal. It was simply an unenforced law. But the data, so we have decades-long data from there, and what we're seeing are very high rates of people who use it chronically who develop schizophrenia. And now what we're seeing here in the States are several things. Of course, you're seeing some people becoming absolutely psychotic and needing to be hospitalized. Number one. Number two, we're seeing something which was named, I think, back in the 70s. It's called cannabis amotivational syndrome, which is essentially a syndrome for people who smoke cannabis where they don't care about very much. They're unmotivated. They get lazy. They sleep a lot. Yeah. And we're also seeing an effect on people's ability to pay attention, and most importantly, what does cannabis do? When you smoke it, it's like it makes you not care. There could be something that could be bothering you terribly, and then suddenly you don't care that much about it. Now, people will counter and say, yeah, but look, they've legalized it, right? They're even saying it has medicinal uses. I don't buy that. I think that the legalization of it came from the fact that the police were no longer able to enforce it. They didn't want to spend the money trying to, as well as financial pressures that were invested heavily in research for cannabis. But other than people who were in the last weeks of some terminal illness who used marijuana or cannabis to make them more comfortable in their final days, I have not seen one therapeutic benefit from it. In fact, our emergency rooms are filled with people and children who are having adverse effects of cannabis. And the point is how, when it's so widespread with so much public information out there about how safe it is and how non-dangerous it is, how do we stop people from doing it? I'm not only talking about kids. How do we persuade people to not even go down that road? But let's start with, tell me what your rabbinic or Jewish perspective is on this.
Dr. Bruce, you mentioned quite a few very, very important issues. The first thing is legal, not legal, used it or not legal. Why is it that in the city of New York, you walk through the streets and you have to smell that garbage? Why do I have to? We talk about secondhand smoke, okay? You want to do it, lock yourself in some room, smoke whatever you want. Why does it have to be that it has a disgusting smell? And people, you talk about Fifth Avenue. We're talking about Midtown. We're talking about downtown. This is terrible. If you're talking about places where people live or places people work. New York should be, after all, this is the city of the world.
Right. Well, I'm sure that there are viewers here who don't live in New York City, but remind me after we're done talking, I'll give you a brochure on condos in Florida. If the smoke really bothers you that much, I'll set you up in a condo in Florida.
Thanks. Good idea. The second thing is, what hurts me so much is money makes this world go round. It is amazing. the people how they canvassed, how they lobbied to make this thing illegal and give it excuses. Listen, I was on radio for a number of years, and I spoke for the benefit for those. If you're using it for medicine, of course we should make it legal for people who need it. But all of a sudden, everybody else, oh, my brother is sick. Can I smoke up? No, that's not what medicine means. Medicine means the person who's sick takes the pill. The person who needs it, they can smoke it. And then the third thing, and the whole question, like we're talking about it, why would people want to dumb down, as we say in the hood? Why would you want to dumb? It's going to make you dumber. It's going to make you also, like you said, about not caring. The beauty of human beings is that one of the beauties is that we do care about other people. And everybody, by the way. We find that generally good people care about other people. And instead, you're going to do something. Just last week, in my office, because my brother writes Gittin, he writes Jewish divorces. And with the divorce, of course, you have to make certain decisions as far as custody, as far as dealing with the children. And it came out that one of the parents smoked a lot marijuana. And the question is, are your children safe to be around you? Are you going to respond, God forbid, if there's a danger? And we know that every home, that's where accidents take place, in homes. So we can say, okay, not a problem. He smokes up. What we'll let he or she be the primary care of this maybe a year-old child or 6-month-old child or 3-year-old child?
Separate from the protection of children, you have a couple who are clearly having conflict, right? How does one talk to someone who's stoned? Are you familiar with the expression stone rap? Are you? It's when someone goes off on some kind of a tangent or a speech. They think that they've reinvented the wheel. They have the most brilliant idea in the world, but they're stoned.
They say that about rabbis, actually.
No. Well, but I hope the rabbis aren't stoned when they're saying it. But they think it's a brilliant idea, but they're stoned. It's the stupidest thing you've ever heard of. And when they're not stoned, they realize it was stupid. But in the moment, they present it as if it's the best idea since bread. How are you supposed to resolve even a relationship issue in discussion if one of the individuals is sitting there in a completely different state of mind, not really caring, thinking that everything they're saying is brilliant? Yeah? So look, I think we've adequately enumerated all the reasons, all the negative effects of it. Sometimes people are not persuaded by scare tactics, like, look at these horrible things that could happen to you. How do we persuade people to not even go down the road to begin with? How do we prevent people? Do we tell them don't even try it when it's ubiquitous and all around? Or do we tell them, okay, it's reasonable, maybe you'll try it, but how do we stop them before they get to the point where they're smoking it daily, and regardless of the opinions to the contrary, yes, you can get addicted to cannabis very easily. Yeah.
And let's not only about the way it's not only about smoking. They put it into food products.
Yeah, you can eat it, sure, of course, right.
Yeah, and there too, and I must tell you that more than once, I've had a situation, and it was close to me, I don't want to use the exact terms, where adults thought they were partying. They came over, brought their brownies, and the little kid just came and took, I have a cookie, Mommy. I have a piece of cake. And therefore,
inadvertently,
and ended up in
an emergency room.
Right. So the danger is very great. If those who think that there's no danger associated with it is simply making a mistake.
Right. Okay, agreed.
I'm not exactly sure. First of all, I would like to see, if you talk a little bit from the rabbinic perspective, I'd like to see Rabbanim simply put out a psak din, put out an edict, a halachic edict that you're not allowed to smoke it.
Why do you think they haven't done it up till now? It's been around for decades.
I think because it's not so prevalent. I think because we're still fighting the whole situation of regular smoking, and we have not conquered that. There are rabbis that have written against smoking in general. Personally, I saw my father-in-law who passed away from lung cancer. Little by little, it was a terrible, terrible time for the entire family. When I look at young people and I see just smoking in general,
right.
you're done.
But I don't want to get off that on tangent. We're not talking about smoking cigarettes. We're specifically talking about a psychoactive substance that is either ingested or smoked. And why
And I believe again, it is being promoted by one thing called money. That's what I really believe. I believe all the promotions, all the...
Agreed. But why have the rabbis not been more vocal about it?
I don't know. I think, what should I tell you? Well, you know what? Maybe you'll get me the first one to write an article. And I'm sure that people...
Well, maybe that's what needs to come out of this, actually, is to start some kind of initiative where rabbis are more vocal.
Maybe the Rabbi the Therapist should write an article together that we can get out to people. Listen,
right.
Both medically and halachically, this is wrong. And particularly to let our children know that it's wrong. To let our, unfortunately, particularly summertimes, the organization that I work for has summer camps up in the Catskills. And you hear about it, these Sunday afternoon barbecues. Well, it's recreational. Killing yourself, to me, is not called recreational.
You're telling me that there's active use of cannabis in these summer camps? Is that what you're telling me?
Not in the camps, no, but in homes up in, I'm talking about in
the area.
In the area, in the resort area.
I see.
In the Catskills.
Right, but you don't have to go to the Catskills. I've seen the use of it, and with very adverse effects in Crown Heights. Well,
you smell it in the streets. So
Right. So the question is, someone comes to you as a rabbi. Someone comes to you and says, "Look, Rabbi, I mean, my friends, I'd like to see what this craze is all about. I'd like to try it. What are you going to advise them to do?"
My first thing that I'm going to say to them is, it is addictive. Do not be fooled to think that it's not addictive. Mm-hmm. It's addictive, and can be addictive. Besides for the fact that it can have negative effects. And therefore, no, you shouldn't try it. Don't think you're going to get away with it. To the young people, I say to them also, if you're hanging with friends and they're doing it, you have to have the strength
to be able to say no. It's a very Nancy Reagan approach. Just say no.
Well,
correct.
Just say no. But
well, I think it's very important that message get out to stop this tidal wave of what is really terribly destructive to many individuals. And unfortunately, many people get very into it at the age where they could be building themselves up for a long, productive future, and it really gets in their way or makes that productive future impossible.
I think what my father would say, as you were talking about, my father would say is, just see who's using it, and you'll see it's wrong. It's not from my side, it's not the rabbi who's teaching Hasidic philosophy, and it's the person who is in pain, the person who says he needs to relax beyond relaxation. Mm-hmm. And then you say, hey, you know what? There's something wrong, and therefore you're using something wrong to cover for something else that's going wrong within your life. Mm-hmm. I think that's enough to tell you that you should not even try it.
Verboten. Okay. Well, if you have any questions or comments for us, you can write us at the email address at the bottom of your screen, and we'll look forward to seeing you during the next episode.